Oh, hi guys. Welcome. And who dat? I'm Joe. Thanks for tuning in to Rosenfield 10, where I cover our beloved Bless You Boys in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. If you're a Who Dat fan, subscribe to my channel. I'm as big of a Saints fan as you are. Whenever you see my videos, you'll get to hear what I'm thinking, and then you leave a comment, please. I respond to my comments. Let me know what you're thinking. And this video is going to be about the upcoming draft. We're going to talk about 29 first round draft prospects for the upcoming 2026 NFL draft as it pertains to our beloved New Orleans Saints. We're going to look at 29 players expected to go in the first round, and we're going to talk about how they fit for the Saints, whether we should target them or not. This is going to be one in a series of videos I do over the next couple of months where we're going to talk about draft prospects coming out of college this year. Now, it's not all set in stone right now. The 29 players I'm going to highlight today are currently slotted in as first round picks. But, you've got a lot of football left. College regular season is over, but you still have the conference championships, you still have the bowl games, you still have the playoffs, you still have the national championship, and all of that's going to determine where some of these players go. Some people that aren't projected to go in the first round are going to get hot toward the end, even after the national championship. You've got the Shrine Game, you've got the Senior Bowl, of course, you've got the Pro Days, and then you've got the all important scouting combine, all of that, plus all of these coaches interviewing all these kids, and then the coaches talk to the coaches, and reporters start to report things. And the next thing you know, a guy that's supposed to go in the fourth round, like Tyler Shuck, ends up going in the second round. So yeah, boards can change up until the last minute. But this is toward the end of the regular season for the National Football League, and we're going to look at the board as it stands right now, and we'll talk about 29 specific players that I think not only have a first round projection, but who could also fit for the Saints. Now, 29 players, there's only going to be 32 players taken in the first round. Can't believe the Saints would be okay with drafting 29 of them. Yeah, this team needs a lot of help. So I can see a scenario where any of these guys get drafted and we're okay with it. Now, there's a couple that I'd be, less enthusiastic about than others. Offensive tackle comes to mind. But let's look at these players and let's talk about how they would fit into the Saints. So we're going to talk about 29 of them, and I'm going to do position by position. This will be one in a series of videos I do where I get to tell you what I think about some of the college players coming out. If you don't know a lot about them, you get a little bit of information, and then we can all sit and dream what we would want to do and what Mickey Loomis will probably not do, and he'll do something crazy and we'll hate it and all that. But hey, I think out of these 29 players, one of them's probably going to be the Saints draft pick. So let's take a look at them, starting at quarterback. I have three quarterbacks in mind when thinking about the first round. Uh, those quarterbacks are Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson, and Dante Moore. So let's look at Fernando Mendoza. He is supposed to be the number one quarterback in this draft. He's 6'5", 225 pounds. He's a junior. And his Hoosiers are undefeated. They are about to play Ohio State in the Big 12 championship game. Both of these teams are undefeated. Indiana has a couple of big wins under their belt, one against Oregon, Penn State. But yeah, they haven't really faced the cream of the crop yet. Ohio State's the number one rated team in the land. Indiana is number two. It's going to be a big game this weekend, and then after these bowl games, we're gonna have the playoffs. So if Indiana makes the playoffs and Fernando Mendoza can beat a couple of those teams, it'll prove a lot to me. Starting this weekend with Ohio State, if he can manage to beat Ohio State, then yeah, I'm gonna give more credence to okay, there is a good quarterback in this draft that you should think about as your future franchise guy. Because right now we've got Tyler Shuck, we've got Spencer Rattler. I don't know if either one of them are franchise guys, but either one of them seem to be pretty good pros. And I think if you had a better team around them, that they could produce some wins. So am I running to the podium with a card for a quarterback in this draft coming up? We got 5 games to go. If we lose all 5 of them, maybe quarterback is the way to go. We're going to have the prime spot to draft one because if we don't win another game, we're going to be picking either first or second or third. And like I say, there's 3 good quarterbacks, in my opinion, in this draft that you could consider in the first round. Fernando Mendoza would be the number one. He's got 2,758 yards. He's got 32 touchdowns. He has 5 interceptions. And like I say, he's got a lot of big wins that he could put as notches on that belt and improve his draft stock even more. No one expects him to go first overall if Tennessee's picking. They've got a number one quarterback. I don't know if they would ditch Cam Ward after just 1 year. But I think the Jets will be in the mix for that top pick. The Saints, of course, will be in the mix. And you've also got to consider Cleveland. I'm not sure if they're satisfied even after drafting 2 quarterbacks last year. Yeah, there's some teams. The Rams are interested in getting a younger guy. There's some good teams that might want a quarterback too. So Fernando Mendoza's number one on this list. I wouldn't say he's my favorite though. My favorite quarterback in the draft is probably Ty Simpson, the quarterback out of Alabama, 6'2", 208-pound junior. He doesn't have the size of Mendoza. He's got 3,056 yards on the season. Simpson has 25 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And I guess Simpson hasn't been playing great the last couple of games. Alabama keeps winning, though. And I really like what I see from Simpson as a quarterback, as a processor, as a layer of accurate passes, making good decisions, stuff like that. Yeah, Simpson doesn't have the size that excites you. But yeah, he's got some good qualities. A little bit of moxie. And yeah, he's a winner. So I really like Simpson. If I had a top 5 pick and I was desperate for a quarterback, I wouldn't think Ty Simpson. At this point, Fernando Mendoza. I wouldn't think either one of them would be the franchise quarterback that's going to come in and just play lights out better than what we're seeing from Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck. I have to let you know right now, I like Spencer Rattler and I like Tyler Shuck. And I'm willing to go another year with either one of those guys if we can build a better team around them. So I'm not looking at quarterback in this draft. But if we lose the rest of our games, with 5 more to go, and you're in the position to do it, then you got to think about it. Well, my favorite is Simpson. Mendoza's probably a safer bet. And the third quarterback with a first round ranking, in my opinion, right now is Dante Moore out of Oregon. Dante Moore is 6'3", 206 pounds. He's a sophomore. This is Moore's first year starting. He looks pretty good. 2,733 yards. He has 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And yeah, there's a lot of talk that Moore is going to go back into college. There's also the talk that he's going to be a first round pick if he comes out. I mean, you can only ruin that if you go back to college. I think he needs some more grooming. I don't think he's ready right now to start and perform very well. Maybe Mendoza and Simpson aren't ready for that either. But I have Moore third on this list, and although I really like Moore a lot, I would not have a problem drafting him in the first round. Just feel like there's that chance he goes back, that he's so young, first year of eligibility, and his only his first year playing, starting. So, you know, it's really up to Moore. Now, as far as quarterback goes, there's going to be a lot more in the mix. There's going to be a lot of players declaring to go back to school, declaring to come out in the NFL. And like I said, bowl games, scouting combine, pro days, all that stuff. You may see some other quarterbacks rise. One guy in particular, Jaden Mayava out of USC. He's got all of the pro attributes that you want. We just would like to see him perform a little better. And yeah, USC, we'll see what happens. Another guy who's probably not going to come out in the draft, but who I think you would have to consider in the first round. This is wild to say after the way the season started, but our guy Arch Manning looks really good right now. Now, Arch would be smart to go back. He would like to have a full year, of really good play. We'll see if Texas makes the playoffs and how far they can go and what's going to happen. But right now, Arch Manning's playing some really good football. And it was the first month of the year we were thinking he might not even come out, because if he did, he wouldn't even be drafted until day three. And his name is Manning, so second round, I figure second round at the latest. Even if he plays horribly, somebody will take a chance on him in second round. I think Arch Manning has all the ability in the world, and you just hope he puts it all together. And yeah, after a rough start of the season, he's looking good now. So overall, I say let's skip on a quarterback this year. Let's attack it next year. I think next year's class will be just as good as this year's, and maybe you'll have some some good players. Mendoza's a junior, Simpson's a junior, Moore is a sophomore. Your top three quarterbacks in this year's draft might all go back to school. Not to mention Arch Manning, and I think Arch Manning's one of those guys. But if we can win ball games with Shuck and Rattler, then yeah, we won't be in the market for a quarterback. We might not be in the position next year with a good record to draft a quarterback. So you guys let me know what you think. Those are the three quarterbacks: Mendoza, Simpson, and Moore. Do you get a quarterback or do you skip on them? Let's go through the rest of these 29 players. First round draft prospects for the Saints. Let's go to running back. There's only one running back that's worth a first round pick right now, and that is Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love, 6 foot, 214 pounds, and he has 18 touchdowns on the year. Pretty good. He's averaging 6.9 yards a carry. He has 1,372 yards. Yeah, he's the complete deal. He's a good runner. He's a tough runner. He's also fast, and he can catch the ball. I don't see a lot as far as pro protection, pass protection. So pass pro. So that kind of makes me a little worried. That's a quality in a running back that I value highly. When I evaluate running backs coming out of college, of course you want to know how big they are, how fast they are, right? Can they catch? Are they productive? But that one thing I look for is pass protection. If a guy can pass protect, I think the transition into the league is smoother. That's why Devin Neal was always high on my board last year. Good pass protector. That means you're going to fit. If we draft you, there'll be a place for you on the team, even if you don't start right away. And Devin Neal is, because Kamara's hurt, Kendre Miller's hurt, Devin Neal's our starter, and we'll see how the production goes. But we feel pretty safe with him as a starter right now because of that pass protection skill. So there's a few running backs in this class that are pretty good at pass protection. One guy is Nick Singleton out of Penn State, once regarded as a first or second round guy. He's kind of an afterthought now, but I think Nick Singleton out of Penn State is a good guy to target, especially in the third round. Another guy that's good at pass protection is Jonah Coleman, the running back out of Washington, and he's a big dude. And yeah, when I can feel comfortable with you pass protecting, then you know the path is clearer into the league. Another guy in this past draft that I really liked was Kyle Monangai because of his pass pro skill. Chicago takes him. Right now, he's their number two back, and he looks really good. He's fitting into the league just fine. Doesn't have the blazing speed, didn't have the combine of the ages, but he had that one important quality that can get you on a roster, and that's pass protection. Now, enough about pass protection from the running back. I do love it. Jeremiah Love can improve in that, but other than that, he's a playmaker. You know, he's a big play waiting to happen at running back. He is an identity. He is a guy that you draft, and yeah, playmaker. That's a guy. When the Saints fans say we need a playmaker, I think Jeremiah Love might be the guy you're thinking about. Of course, we need an offensive line to get anything going on offense. I've said that, and yeah, there's a lot of good running backs. I think you can get a good one later on in the draft. But if you're picking 12th in this year's draft, Jeremiah Love's probably going to be at the top of your board at that point. So we'll see if Love is a top 10 pick or not. Let's go to the next position, another potential playmaker position in wide receiver for the Saints. Before Vele's big game this past week against Miami, I was thinking we need a big wide receiver. We definitely need a playmaker on at wide receiver. Chris Olave's okay. And yeah, I don't expect Devon Vele to be a starter for us. But man, 8 targets, 8 catches in his past game, 90 something yards and a touchdown. Good run blocker. So Vele has, the size and all of that to be a good wide receiver. But let the rest of the year play out. As far as the draft goes, the number one guy is Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. 6'1" slash 6'2", 200 pounds. He's a junior. Tyson's the best wide receiver in college, according to everybody. I think he got hurt this past game, so we'll see what's up with that. But right now, he's got 61 catches, 711 yards, 8 touchdowns. I like Tyson. I think he's a good contested catch guy, even though he's not the biggest guy. And yeah, short-handed, can make wild catches. And yeah, Tyson's a guy everybody's focusing on. So you want a wide receiver, you want to improve the room, we could. I did a video about wide receivers a couple of weeks ago, and I was thinking we could draft 2 of them in this draft. It all depends on what you got in the cupboards with Trey Palmer and Jalen Polk and Bub Means and Devon Vele for that matter. But Jordan Tyson's the number one guy in everyone's mind. I'm just okay with Tyson. I like him. If I had to choose a wide receiver in this class, number one overall, I would probably go with my next guy, Cornell Tate, out of Ohio State, 6'3", 195 pounds. I wish he would put a few more pounds on. This junior missed a few games because of injury. I think he's back now. He'll play in this title game, championship game this weekend, I'm sure. He has 44 catches for 793 yards and 8 touchdowns. So yeah, he averages a lot per catch, finds the end zone quite a bit. And Tate, yeah, I lean towards Tate above Tyson simply because he's a bigger dude. Um, Cornell Tate has a better quarterback throwing to him too, so Tyson could be out of this world productive if he had a better quarterback. Cornell Tate very high on my list. I'm going to talk about six wide receivers as potential first rounders. The most productive in college so far out of all of these six would be Makai Lemon out of USC. 5'11", 195 pounds. So he's 4 inches shorter than Tate, but he weighs the same. Makai Lemon just has incredible numbers. 79 catches, 1,156 yards, 11 touchdowns. Makai Lemon is a big time playmaker. And yeah, if you're talking about playmaker, yeah, that might be the guy right there, despite 5'11" stature. Yeah, there's a bunch of drafts that I do, mock drafts where I trade down for the Saints, and then I end up seeing Tyson and Tate go real quick, and then I'm sitting there with pick 12 or 14, and the next wide receiver on the board is Makai Lemon. At 5'11", it sucks that we would go and grab a really small guy, but playmaker, man. Big time playmaker. And that's something the Saints sorely miss. There's three more wide receivers I'm going to mention. Denzel Boston, the wide receiver out of Washington. 6'4", 209-pound junior. He has 56 catches for 755 yards. He has 10 touchdowns. Boston can find the end zone. He's got that 6'4" frame, and yeah, he's a very productive guy. That's a guy I would not mind drafting in the first round for the Saints. You're getting a big wide receiver, playmaker, mismatch in the red zone, and yeah, if Kellen Moore could find a way to use those guys, yeah, Denzel Boston out of Washington would be a really good first round pick. Another wide receiver I like in the first round is Chris Bell. 6'2", 220-pound senior out of Louisville. Yes, he played last year at Louisville with Tyler Shuck. He's having a much better year this year, so I'm not going to harp on that too much, thinking a reuniting Shuck and Bell is going to have this great pro production. Bell's getting better as a player. At 220 pounds, he's pretty thick for a 6'2" guy. He has 72 catches for 917 yards and six touchdowns. So yeah, he's good after the catch, and he can catch the ball all over the field. Probably a second round grade for most people, but I would not mind drafting him in the first round. Later on in the first round. When I talk about drafting these players in the first round, by the way, I'm not talking about with a top five pick. Okay, right now the Saints are slated to get the number two pick. 5 games to go. We probably will have a top five pick, but there's the chance you trade down. And, there's also the chance that some of these first round prospects fall into the second round. We have a really good second round pick. So Chris Bell, in my opinion, has a first round grade. If we were to trade down an absurd amount and end up with the 20 something pick, then Chris Bell would make a lot of sense. Another guy who doesn't quite have a first round grade as far as everyone else is concerned, but I do. I have one on him, and that's Kevin Casey Concepcion. Concepcion from Texas A&M. That's a guy we talk about Makai Lemon being the biggest playmaker. I think Concepcion might be number two on the list. 5'11", 190 pounds. He's a junior. He has 57 catches, 886 yards, 9 touchdowns. Anybody that watches Texas A&M knows Concepcion. He's number 7. He's a big play waiting to happen. And yeah, he's got a second round grade, but I wouldn't mind grabbing him in the first round. I think he's going to be productive. There you go. That's 6 wide receivers that I really like in the first round. Is there a tight end worthy of drafting in the first round? There's some really good tight ends this year, but the only clear-cut first-round projection would be Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon. He's a junior, 6'3", 245 pounds. Kenyon Sadiq is a good run blocker, really good receiver. He has 40 catches, 490 yards, 8 touchdowns. That's the number I like to see. making it happen in the red zone, scoring some touchdowns, being an all-around guy. That's what we don't have on our team at tight end right now, besides Foster Moreau. Everybody else has a niche. Well, Jawan Johnson's a receiving tight end. Should be out there on pass downs only. First and second down, we need a run blocker. And it interests me. There's other tight ends who are pretty good at run blocking that I'm interested in getting. Max Clare out of Ohio State. He's right now in everyone's books. He's a late second, early third guy, but he may be a guy that's drafted early in the second round because of his abilities. A complete tight end. Max Clare. Another guy people really like is Michael Trigg out of Baylor. He's a receiving tight end. Now he's big, but it's not much of a run blocker. He could probably get a little better, but in my opinion, Trigg is kind of like just an upgrade of Jawan Johnson. It's just the same player. He's way better, it seems, as a receiver than Jawan Johnson. So Trigg is an interesting guy, but if you're drafting him, you're not upgrading at run blocking. You're just getting another receiver, and we have that for 2 more years with Jawan Johnson if he can hold on to the ball. So yeah, I like Trigg, but I like Trigg as a second option. I want a complete guy first. A guy like Jolly out of North Carolina State who looks to be a complete guy. Um, who else do I like? Reardon out of Notre Dame is a complete guy and a very good run blocker. Um, I'm going to be doing videos breaking down different positions and talking about the draft class as a whole with other rounds involved. This is focusing on the first round. And besides Claire and Trigg, I'm not sure if anybody else at tight end could sneak into the first round. I gotta say, Trigg's a receiver, so you get that guy, you're getting a big bodied wide receiver. But I don't know if you're improving your run game on first and second down. But Sadiq is a guy that you have to think about, especially toward the end of the first round. So if he slips into the second round like he has in a few of my mocks, I think the last two mocks I did, he fell to the second round and I grabbed him because I think we really need a complete tight end. Something you guys think we don't need, but I'm going to mention here anyway, that's offensive tackle. We've drafted a tackle in the first round in each of the last 2 years. We should not be drafting a tackle in the first round this year unless we have intentions of putting somebody at guard. And nobody wants to draft a first round guard. But if you trade down in this draft and you get to a certain spot and you look at your board, there's a chance you get to a point where one of these two tackles is at the top of your best player available list. And when people say, just get the best player available, I'm pretty sure they're not saying, yeah, get the tackle. I'm pretty sure they'd be like, no, get a position of need, skip the tackle. But I'm going to mention the tackles anyway. The first one I'll mention is Spencer Fano out of Utah. He's a junior, 6'6", 302 pounds. And yeah, he's a top rated offensive tackle in this draft. Fano and the guy from Miami who we're going to talk about in a second. Top two tackles in the draft. Well, usually those guys people are clamoring for them, trading up to get them. If you need a tackle, that's one of the most important positions to fill. We hope we've got the tackles in the future with Banks and Fuanga. But, I want to see a little more from Fuanga. He's got an injury riddled season and he's looked subpar when he's playing with these injuries. So, if he's going to have ankle injuries the rest of his life that he's going to have to manage, then that kick slide tackle protection might not be as good for him. He may need to kick inside. Yeah, you drafted a guard in the first round if you do that. We're just going to have to see how it all plays out. The other tackle we're going to talk about besides Fano is Francis Mauigoa. Mauigoa? Somebody going to have to tell me how to pronounce that one. The offensive tackle out of Miami. He's a junior, 6'6", 315 pounds, a solid player. A lot of people are talking about kicking him inside the guard at 6'6". Pretty tall to be playing guard. But yeah, Fano and Malaguay are the top two tackles. There's a couple of more. There's another kid from Utah besides Fano that some people are considering a first round pick, and Lomu. And yeah, he's kind of fluctuating there around second round, late first round, second round guy. I wouldn't want to take a chance on him. Jennings Dunker out of Iowa is another guy who's in that first round, second round range. When you need a tackle, you draft a tackle. So we don't need a tackle, but I could see Dunker going in the first round. I could also see Jennings Dunker being kicked into guard. Another guy that's high on people's list is Proctor out of Alabama. He's been very inconsistent this year. Not a guy I would want to go and get. I have a second round grade on him and would probably put him at guard. All right, those are the two tackles, Fano and Malaguay. Malaguay. Yeah, your guess is as good as mine. But at offensive guard, we definitely have a need for. Do you draft a guard the first round? Well, there's two guards that I think are worth a first round pick in this year's draft. And if you trade down out of that high draft pick and you end up with a mid round guy, you're going to have to consider it. And the first one, of course, you know I love him. That's Olaiva Vega Ione. I know how to pronounce his name now. I love him too much not to know his name. Ione. Ione is out of Penn State. He's a junior, 6'4", 330 pounds. He can run block. He can pass block. Best guard in the draft, bar none. He's projected to go in the first round. Oh, the dreams I had in early mock drafts of him being there in the second round. It's just not going to happen. And if Yone's going to get taken in the first round, then the next best guard might be taken in the first round too. If this next guy slips into the second round, I think that's the one I'm drafting above everything else in the second round. That's Emmanuel Pregnon, offensive guard out of Oregon. He's a senior, 6'5", 318 pounds. Up until a couple of weeks ago, Pregnon was right around late second, third round grade, but yeah, Ione has just established himself as a first round projection, and Pregnon is the next best guy up, so his stock is rising. You can still get Pregnon in the second round in these mocks, and it's usually a pick that I make because I think the Saints are really bad up front in the middle. We're going to have to spend some serious money in free agency. I want to go get the best guard available in free agency, and I also want to draft one. I didn't mention any centers. None of them are really worth a first round pick, but there's a ton of them, really good ones. I love the kid out of Oregon, Lalulu. Oh, Iapani Lalulu out of Oregon. I love that guy. And I already talked about Jones out of Iowa. He doesn't have the strength, but he's good. Uh, Connor Liu out of Auburn is really good. Jake Slaughter out of Florida is really good. And who else? Parker Brailsford is a decent guy. Yeah, there's some good centers. And I think the third round, fourth round is the place to go and get one if you need a starter. And we have Eric McCoy. 7 games out of the year, we have Eric McCoy. Just keep that in mind. All right, those are the offensive players that I'm going to mention. Let's continue our top 29 and talk about the defense. Everybody wants to get an edge rusher, so let's talk about the best ones. I'm going to mention 5 of them, and there's a few more that I'll mention as honorable mentions, but these are the guys that are projected to go for sure in the first round. And we'll start with Ruben Bain Jr. out of Miami. He's a junior, literally and 6'3", 275 pounds. Well, 275 pounds is right up Dennis Allen's alley. Okay. That's the guy you want to get at defensive end in a 4-3. And that's the guy that Mickey Loomis trades up to go and get for Dennis Allen. Well, Dennis Allen ain't here anymore. Everybody wants a fast, speedy edge rusher. Nobody wants the big guy anymore. So why is everyone clamoring for Reuben Bain at 275 pounds? Isn't that what Grando weighs? I mean, don't we have this on our team already? Chase Young, Carl Granderson, Cam Jordan, bigger defensive ends who are trying to play outside linebacker in this scheme. Aren't we trying to get smaller? So yeah, I'm not as high on Reuben Bain as everybody else is. He's got 19 tackles on the year. He has 4.5 sacks. He has a forced fumble. He has an interception. Yeah, 4.5 sacks on the year. It's not a He's not leading the college football in sacks, that's for sure. And when I watch Miami play, I watch the guy, and yeah, he just doesn't make a lot of plays. He might affect the play like Chase Young, but he doesn't make a lot of plays. I'm not a big fan of Reuben Bain. I've drafted him in mocks before. I mean, he's so highly touted, and being 275 pounds and being athletic, yeah, you can set the edge against the run from that outside linebacker position and do us, some favors. And Grando and Chase Young should be able to do that in this position right now. Sometimes we look okay against the run. Everyone wants us to get faster on the edge. Well, Reuben Bain is a stud. Another guy that's a physical stud is Keldrick Falk out of Auburn. He's a junior, 6'6", 285 pounds. So there you go. Another guy who should be playing defensive end in a 4-3 front. Is he going to play outside linebacker for us? If we draft Keldrick Falk and Reuben Bain, we might actually put them on the line of scrimmage in some plays. Is that really getting quicker and faster for this defense? Is that something y'all want? Bain, Falk? Let me know, because they seem pretty big for what we're asking our outside linebacker edge rushers to do. Is Falk a player that's so good you have to get him? He's got 2 sacks on the year, 23 tackles, 2 sacks. He's one of those guys that's going to be overdrafted because of potential, probably by a guy like Dennis Allen in Chicago. Is it somebody we really want? Is it somebody that really fits into what we do? Is he too good of a player to pass up? Those kind of questions come up. I'm not leaning towards Bain and Falk. I'm leaning towards a smaller guy. Now, I know when you get a smaller guy out there, you can run on him, and that's going to be an issue. I want to make sure whoever I have has speed. We don't get tore up on the perimeters like we did against Miami. That was embarrassing. Nobody seemed to be getting in position to stop Achane when he was running around the edge. And so, yeah, that's what we want. We don't like fast quarterbacks getting away from us. We don't like giving up chunk yards on the outside. We want faster on the outside. So, how about TJ Parker out of Clemson? 6'3". I think Parker is a junior. I don't have it written down. 6'3", 265 pounds. Well, it's perfect for a 4-3 defensive end. That's perfect. He might fit a little better because he's a little lighter. That outside linebacker for us. He has 18 tackles on the year, 5 sacks. So he's the sack leader so far of the three big guys I've mentioned. He's the smallest of the big guys. And yeah, I don't get excited watching Parker when I watch Clemson either. I like Parker. He may fit into this defense a little better than Bain or Falk. But these next two players I'm going to mention at edge rusher might fit the best. David Bailey out of Texas Tech. He might be the best edge rusher in this class for the Saints. There's some character issues, and I'll worry about that. Usually, when there's character flags, I avoid the player like the plague. Bailey's a senior, 6'3", 250 pounds, so he's a linebacker size. He might get pushed around and run on if we draft him and ask him to play in Brandon Staley's defense, but I think he fits that edge rusher role in Brandon Staley's defense at 250 pounds. Bailey's a insane playmaker. He has 25 tackles, 12 and a half sacks. Yeah. If you add Bain, Falk, and Parker, if you add all three of them sacks, you don't get to where David Bailey is, okay? 12 and a half sacks on the year, two forced fumbles. You don't have to watch Texas Tech play long to see David Bailey pop off on the screen constantly. It's constantly affecting the plays. So, yeah, despite the character issues, this may be one time when I say, I don't care, go and get them anyway. We need some thugs on this team, okay? Bailey is insane. I'm kind of confused as to why he isn't the number one edge rusher in the class because Reuben Bain is so big and athletic and Keldrick Falk is so big and that. Yeah, we've done this. We've drafted big defensive ends before and expected them to stop speed and running quarterbacks. Yeah. Bailey fits the system more. I think Bailey might be the guy. Despite the character issues, he might be the best one to get for the Saints. And the last one I'll mention in the first round conversation, Cassius Howell, Texas A&M, 6'2", 248 pounds. He's a senior. And yeah, he has an enormous amount of sacks. 19 tackles, 11 and a half sacks. He has a forced fumble. You don't have to watch Texas A&M play for very long to see Cassius Howell blow up and affect the play. So I like Bailey and I like Howell for that reason. There's a couple more players I'm going to mention. They are not specifically first round prospects yet, but they would fit into our defense and they may end up first round draft picks when it's all said and done. Edge rusher is a valued position, so you may be reaching if you really, really need one. And I've reached for Cassius Howell before. But I want to mention R. Mason Thomas out of Oklahoma. He's a guy to keep an eye on. You've also got Joshua Josephs out of Tennessee, who I really like. He's really small, but man, he's active and speed. So, if that's what Staley wants, Joshua Josephs out of Tennessee is a good player. And I also like the kid out of Arkansas, Quincy Rhodes Jr. He's a little bigger than Thomas or Josephs, but I think Rhodes would fit in too. And Thomas, Josephs, and Rhodes could all be there in the second round, maybe even slip to the third round, but they could also all go in the first round, depending on edge rusher needy teams. So you guys let me know what do you think about edge rusher in this draft? I told you six of them. Are you wanting that big guy? You want Reuben Bain? You want the guy that Dennis Allen is dreaming about every night? Or do you want to go and get David Bailey or Cassius Howell? Let me know in the comments. How about defensive tackle? Well, there's not a lot of defensive tackles that go in the first round. You have to be really good to have a first round grade. And there's two guys, as far as I can tell, with a first round grade this year. You've got Peter Woods out of Clemson. He's a junior, 6'3", 315 pounds. He's only got 9 tackles on the season. Every time I watch Clemson, I watch Woods and I see his presence in the middle, but there's not a lot of production after that. He's got 2 sacks. He's 315 pounds, but he can play nose tackle. He's a big dude, but he's pretty active. He's pretty mobile. So he's an interesting guy. I don't want to draft a top 15, use a top 15 pick on that guy. I just don't. I just don't see it every time I watch Clemson. As a prospect, he's really good. Would he improve the Saints on the defensive line? Probably a lot. But I'm not keen on spending a top 10, top 15 pick on this guy. The other defensive tackle that I'm saying is a first round projection is not a first round projection according to most lists right now, but he probably will be. And that's Caden McDonald out of Ohio State. This junior is 6'3", 326 pounds. So he will play nose tackle, but he's got a motor. He's got 25 tackles on the year. Peter Woods has 9. Okay, McDonald has 25. Okay, and 3 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. McDonald is playing probably the best at defensive tackle just about anybody in college football right now. And I think it's surprising that these boards don't have him as a first round pick, but I want him. And if it's true and he slips into the second round, oh yeah, that's a guy to go and get. But I'm a big fan of McDonald. And yeah, mark my words. Check the timestamp on this one. McDonald's going to be drafted in the first round. And we could use help at defensive line. There's a lot of other players on the defensive line that I'm interested in. Defensive tackles that are typically 3 tech types, 280 pounds, 300 pounds. Those types can transition into an end position in a 3-4, which is what we run. So there's a lot of defensive tackles I'm interested in. I'm interested in a nose tackle too. So defensive tackle all across the board. I'm interested in getting any of them because I think we need so much help on our defensive line. And yeah, it's going to be a fun video when I break down the defensive line in the upcoming draft. Subscribe to my channel so you can get all those videos when they come out. Let's go to the next position, linebacker. We have it's probably the best position group on our team, our linebacking core. Demario Davis, Pete Werner, Danny Stutzman, and Isaiah Stallbird. My cats are acting crazy right now. I see you, babies. Be nice, Mia. Uh, yeah, Jalen Ford. There's another guy that we have on our team that's pretty good that we never see. So linebacker is really good, but the number one guy, you're going to grab him because he's one of the best players in football. Arvell Reese out of Ohio State. This junior is 6'4", 243 pounds. You watch Ohio State play, you focus on him, and he's all over the place. 31 tackles, 6.5 sacks. What's good about him is he's good in coverage. He's good against the run. He's a really good linebacker, and he can play as an edge rusher and rush the passer really well. So you get 2 for 1 if you get him. You draft Arvell Reese. Not only are you getting the future at linebacker, but you're going to find a place for him on the field. And we have a lot of linebackers on our team. Good. We'll just rush Reese off the edge. No problem. Oh, he's got to play linebacker and take Pete Werner's place. Darn. Danny Stutzman. We all love Danny Stutzman, but we're not going to say no to Arvell Reese. I think Arvell Reese is a top 6 player in this draft. I'm keen on trading down once or twice and still grabbing him with the 8th overall pick, but Reese is probably a top 5 pick, top 6 pick. So depends on who goes quarterback crazy, but yeah, I think outside of quarterback, he's probably number 3 or number 4 player taken outside of the quarterbacks. So if you want Reese, you're going to have to get him early. And Saints probably will have an early pick, and he is a hot player right now in everybody's minds and everybody's lips and pressing that button. That's the guy everyone wants, Arvell Reese. And yeah, we could have the 2nd overall pick, trade down a few spots, pick up a king's ransom, and still get Arvell Reese. Well, wouldn't that be nice? But I'm going to mention a few other linebackers because there's some really good ones, and there's some first round talent here. Arvell Reese has a partner at Ohio State, probably the best linebacker duo in the country, and that is Sonny Styles. He's a senior, 6'4", 243 pounds, the exact same size as Arvell Reese. And Styles has more tackles, 38. He's only got a half a sack, but Styles has a forced fumble and an interception from his linebacker position. Styles is really fast. just like Reese, and we need speed on this team. So if you miss out on Reese, you can still score big in the first round with an Ohio State linebacker in Sonny Styles. A lot of people aren't talking about Styles because Reese is so good. But man, you draft Styles in the first round and you need a linebacker, I think you're going to be really happy. And there's two other guys that I think have first round talent at linebacker. CJ Allen out of Georgia. He's a junior, 6'1", 235 pounds. He has 42 tackles, 3.5 sacks. He has 2 forced fumbles. He's a playmaker. Georgia plays a lot of zone and man. So I think CJ Allen would fit into our mixed match defense pretty well. And yeah, he's not a top of the first round guy, but if you need a linebacker and you're drafting late in the first round, I think he has a first round grade. And another guy who's most people are projecting to go in the second round, but I'm going to mention him here because I'm a fan. It's Anthony Hill Jr. out of Texas. We have a couple of Texas coaches. We have Jalen Ford, who played linebacker at Texas, and Hill's another guy that's really interesting. 6'3" junior, 238 pounds. He has 38 tackles, 4 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions. He is a big time playmaker at linebacker. And yeah, our Texas coaches are probably familiar with him. So that is the 4 linebackers I have with first round grades. Now I have one other guy with a first round grade. No one thinks he's going in the first round. I don't understand why. I didn't even make a prompt for him, okay? But it's Jacob Rodriguez out of Texas Tech. And there's talk that he may be a Heisman finalist. The man is insane. He lines up in the Wildcat and runs the ball. I've seen him throw the ball from the quarterback position as a linebacker. And he's just a big time playmaker at Texas Tech. Now, most sites have him as a third or fourth round projection. I would like someone to explain to me why, because the only reason I don't feature him here is because no one thinks he's going in the first round. Well, Jacob Rodriguez has ability. He's a playmaker. We'll see where he goes when it's all said and done, but I really like Jacob Rodriguez out of Texas Tech. And yeah, check the time stamp on that one because Rodriguez is a playmaker. I don't see him falling out at day 2 at all. Nobody has him rated very high. You can get him in the fourth round in every mock. Crazy, but that's the way it is. All right, let's go to cornerback. There's 2 cornerbacks that are certain first round projections, in my opinion. And number one is our guy from LSU, Mansoor Delane. 6 foot, 190 pounds senior. He has 28 tackles. He has 11 passes defensed, and he has 2 interceptions. Delane is pro ready and would fit in our defense very well. And I'm certain Delane's going to be the first cornerback taken in the draft. Would not surprise me if he's a top 15 pick. Would we draft him? Well, if we did, he would start ahead of Kool-Aid. I'll just put it to you that way. Delane, number one cornerback in the draft, and a guy that I wouldn't mind getting. The only other cornerback I have mentioned as a first round prospect may not even come out, and that's Jermod McCoy out of Tennessee. All we've got to go on is last year's numbers. He's been hurt all year. He's 6 foot, 193 pounds. And yeah, because he didn't play all year, he may want to go back and play another year. But he hasn't played all year, and he's still a first round projection. So there's a chance people say no and pass on him until the second round. There's a chance that happens. Last year when he played, he had 26 tackles, 7 passes defensed, 4 interceptions. So Jermod McCoy, that's an iffy one right there. If he doesn't come out and he just has a decent season next year, he'll be a first round projection. But I mean, why go back to college if you haven't played all year and you're still projected to go in the first round? Because there's that chance you slip into the second round. There's a chance. It's not unlike Will Johnson last year. You know, there's a chance that happens to McCoy. There's a chance people don't want to get him because of the injury and the lack of time this past year, and then you end up going in the second round. I think there's worse things in the world. There are some other cornerbacks that you could consider in the first round, like Colton Hood, McCoy's teammate at Tennessee. Colton Hood's doing pretty good this year. Um, Terrell out of Clemson is another guy who's ranking pretty good and might slip into the first round. So there are other cornerbacks with first round grades on some of the boards. I'm just mentioning Delane and McCoy because those are the two that I would lean towards for the Saints in the first round. And the 29th player I'm going to mention is the number one safety prospect, and that's Caleb Downs out of Ohio State. This junior safety is 6 foot, 205 pounds. Everyone says he is, generational. They say he's that good. Well, he has 34 tackles. He has one pass defense. He has two interceptions. He plays the position very well. He can do all kinds of different things. I just, the stats aren't there screaming at you that say, yeah, this is a all-world guy to go and get. Saints might be in no man's land there in the top 10. If we win a couple of games and we end up with the eighth pick or the 10th pick, Arvell Reese is gone. Maybe you're not really high on an edge rusher right there. Then Caleb Downs is one of those guys. Caleb Downs kind of reminds me of the number one safety that came out last year, where he was a really good player, but do you take a safety in the first round? And eventually you got to a point in the first round, well, whoever gets him is going to get a stud. Downs is a better player, it seems, than that guy. So Downs is probably not going to get taken in the top five. He may not even get taken in the top 10. But then after that, whoever takes him, everyone's going to say, you got to steal. So he would fit in our defense. And even though safety isn't the greatest need, in my opinion, for the team, Downs is one of the best players in the draft. So there you go. That's 29 first round draft prospects that the Saints could be interested in taking. I believe our first round pick is going to be one of those guys I've mentioned. And yeah, this has been a long video, but you guys learned a lot about first round talent in this year's draft, and we'll see how it all comes down. Scouting combine next year in April, and then or the draft in April, and we'll see how all of this goes. Yeah, I'm thinking one of these guys will be the Saints. First round pick. You let me know what you like. You let me know what you think. You let me know how you feel about positions. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing more of these videos. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had time off after the holiday week. Thank the Lord. And yeah, the Saints lost another game, and it looks like we're going to be, you know, 5 games to go. It looks like the Saints will probably have a top five pick when it's all said and done. If we can't beat Tennessee or the Jets, yeah, we deserve a top five pick. Let me know what you think, guys. I'm Joe, and until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?